Welcome to Supply Chain Partners TV and podcast, where we discuss innovative solutions delivered by our members at Supply Chain Partners. Our members can help you to build a high-performing business and supply chain. I'm Dr. Sharyn Grant, the founder of Supply Chain Partners. I've worked in the logistics and supply chain management field for over 20 years, and I specialise in strategic supply chain performance management. Let's now introduce our member. Today we are joined by Tasman Logistics Services, who are experts in transport, customs inspections, fumigation, container unpacks, warehousing and contract logistics, Australia-wide with a global reach. They deliver solutions via road and rail and ensure efficient delivery of your goods on time and intact. I'd now like to welcome Kat Attana, the General Manager, Business Solutions and Property, and Steve Campbell, the National Business Development Manager. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi Sharyn, thank you for having us.
Hi Sharyn, thanks for having us.
Today's episode is about addressing warehousing dilemmas, insourcing versus outsourcing. Firstly, Kat, what are some of the greatest order fulfillment challenges that the industry is experiencing across the sectors, including fast-moving consumer goods, consumer electronics, retail, pharmaceutical, or the health sector?
Yeah, thank you, Sharyn, for the questions. So one of the challenges with order fulfillment is getting the product into the warehouse. Global political instability and international shipping challenges have made this difficult. So there's been manufacturing delays and shipping delays to get it into warehouses. Once it is in warehouses, then obviously it is really important that either the customer or the service provider have the right systems and processes and people in place to be able to handle the products in the most cost-efficient manners. Customers have really high demands nowadays on how quickly they can get their product. So Amazon has obviously paved the way to get orders the same or next day. So these pressures are translated into warehouses and are a big challenge of the order fulfillment process. Moving forward, there's also been severe challenges in Australia and globally with having access to staff, having access to equipment, having access to transport, truck trailers, containers, and last mile delivery carriers. So we've had an interesting year last year and the year before, but we had a lot of very happy customers at the end of it, combating the order fulfillment challenges.
You have identified significant challenges. Steve, when does it make sense for an organisation to insource warehousing to manage it themselves?
Very good question, Sharyn. I think it comes down to control. They like having control of their processes, the inventory that they have, the physical inventory, and releasing their data. They also like to keep that close to themselves. I also think that they have specialisation for some of the clients, that when it comes to specialisation within their goods and services, that they also like to keep control of that as they move forward. And I suppose it's just stakeholder confidence in having direct control rather than outsourcing to customers and feeling that they can do it better than what a third-party operator can.
You've mentioned quite a few important areas that organisations need to evaluate to determine whether insourcing warehousing and logistics is the best strategy for their short or long-term needs. Kat, when should an organisation consider outsourcing warehousing and what are the benefits?
Yeah, very good question, Sharyn. Thank you. So I guess there is quite some other restraints in Australia and considerations for businesses when looking at outsourcing. So firstly, the property market in the industrial space, so speaking of warehouse availability, is an all-time record low. So basically, Sydney, for instance, has the world's lowest vacancy rate. So the first consideration is, would a customer actually find a suitable warehouse to handle the operations? Then the second part is, what is their growth trajectory? Because if they do find a warehouse that are built a purposely made warehouse, which might be an 18 months planning cycle or even longer, it basically means they have to forecast 10 plus years ahead. Is that possible? Or are they going to outgrow their facility within a couple of years, which we've seen in many cases? So the advantages with outsourcing is obviously having the ability to work with a service provider who has facilities, who is able to scale to the customer's needs. And third really important point, can bring the expertise to the business. And a service provider understands multiple areas and multiple customers and industries, and is able to transfer best practices and also leverage economies of scale. So for instance, in a multi-user site, there might be one warehouse manager, which is split across the costs, split across multiple customers. While if someone runs their own warehouse, they're going to need their own warehouse manager. And this is just one example. So, combining, looking at properties, there are actually sites available that suit. Second is being flexible for service provider and, being able to scale accordingly. And then the third, having the expertise. In addition, when considering outsourcing, you might also want to look at the technology, what warehouse management systems, smarts, automation, transport management systems are in place with that provider. What experience do they have with handling your product, especially in big, bulky consumer electronics or in high-value items that can be, quite a challenge. And data and cybersecurity is a really important point. So quite a few points to consider there, Sharyn.
There's a lot to consider and evaluate to determine which warehousing strategy will best achieve their strategic and operational objectives. Now, your clients have outsourced warehousing to Tasman Logistics Services. Kat, could you please provide a real-life client example regarding how Tasman Logistics Services has helped your clients with warehousing and what benefits they've been able to achieve?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess what is really important to understand about Tasman Logistics, we are very flexible. We really get the job done and we go the extra mile for our customers, which basically meant there's traditionally a lot of customers who came to us and we didn't go into really long contracts. They would just stay with us because they really valued our services. So going back to one of the examples, so we have a e-commerce customers, for instance, which is a large American business entering the Australian market. Their product range, a lot of outdoor kind of consumer products that are sold through hardware stores. And initially they started with a smaller product range. So within a couple of weeks, they needed us to obviously implement their product range into our warehouse management system, to set up our transport management system and offer them an e-commerce rate card, and then to start receiving containers in. They have since grown and tenfold. So basically they started from 60 to 100 pallets to now going 1,000, going on 1,500 pallets, and adding SKUs almost every week to that product range. So we've supported them with their growth. We've handled all their business, and we renegotiated rates with last mile carriers, depending on their changing profile, which can be, from a small box to a really large kayak shaped type item. There's a lot of other customers as well. We're helping out either in seasonal products, storing overflow for them during peak season, helping them with container unpacks, avoiding millions of dollars of demurrage and detention charges at the wharf. We've also have a customer in the consumer electronics and white goods space, including managing their spare parts, which is another challenge in itself.
They're excellent examples. Kat, what would be a key lesson you have learned that could help your future clients when they're evaluating whether to insource or outsource warehousing?
Certainly a key lesson is the decision is linked to the strategy. So a CapEx expenditure is obviously a really key point and topic for a lot of businesses. And obviously the scalability is probably the second major point. In addition to that, we also have customers who are very conscious about their data and their IP, or requiring, special services, special equipment, and so on. So when evaluating insourcing and outsourcing, it is really important to engage with the customer in great depth, to fully understand their product, their strategy, and their future outlook and where they want to go. And based on that, we have been able to make some good recommendations. There's also the opportunity to take over sites, so to basically run sites as a 4PL. So if someone currently insources but can't find the staff, doesn't know about systems, one customer where we've done that with, they would have had to upgrade all their material handling equipment. And we obviously have much better processes in place, better buying power, and a lot of other advantages that really made the decision easy for those clients to outsource. However, if a large business is very focused on their own product and their IP and want to keep that control in-house, that's perfectly fine to insource, and then to also reach out to service providers for kind of a semi-hybrid model to say, okay, certain functions of the logistics could be handled by someone else. So I guess bottom line is stay flexible, understand your business, understand what's in the market, and then make the right decisions from there.
You've mentioned quite a few great points there that need to be considered. Let's now talk about your warehousing service. Steve, could you please explain your warehousing capacity and locations?
Thanks again, Sharyn, for that question. Yeah, look, Tasman Logistics Services, we control over 150,000 square metres of warehousing space throughout Australia, from major cities of Melbourne, Brisbane, Sydney and Perth. We offer both multi-user and standalone dedicated warehousing and contract logistics, either in bulk or fully racked with semi-automated storage applications available to each client where their needs are wanted.
That's quite significant warehousing capacity and convenient locations across Australia. Kat, what do your warehouse storage solutions entail? And could you please explain how it all works?
Yeah, absolutely, Sharyn. I guess the advantage with Tasman Logistics is we offer wharf transport, then warehousing and contract logistics solutions, as well as last mile delivery, both in full truckloads, as well as servicing the e-commerce market. And looking at our warehouse solutions, we're quite flexible. So we do have seasonal and flexible storage arrangements, as well as contracted clients with long-term contracts. Obviously, on the contracted clients, there is more opportunity for, application of automation or, most suitable racking solutions to basically refine and work for continuous improvement to offer the best solution at the best price, at the right pace to clients, depending on what their clients need. So again, going back, we go the extra mile. We have a lot of very happy customers, and we are growing our footprint significantly, as Steve just mentioned. We currently have capacity in Victoria, in Melbourne. We have additional capacity coming online in Brisbane from April this year, and we expect additional capacity second half of 2023 in both Perth and Sydney as well. In addition, we can also sign on new facilities for customers who like a 3PL or 4PL to manage their site for them.
That's a comprehensive warehousing service offering. Kat, which industries do you primarily support and serve?
Yeah, Tasman Logistics has been very successful in the fast-moving consumer goods space. We've also been having a lot of loyal customers in retail, especially when it comes to larger and more bulky items such as white goods, brown goods, air-conditioned washing machine, stoves. Not everyone knows how to handle these products, and we do that really well and have the right equipment and people and expertise and systems. We've also worked for the mining industry, for construction. And especially during COVID, we started to do quite a bit of work for healthcare as well. And we like to grow that part of our business and sector.
That's excellent. Well, thank you very much, Kat and Steve, for joining us today from Tasman Logistics Services.
Thank you, Sharyn, for having us.
Thank you, Sharyn. I also just like to mention that in addition to our single multi-user 3PL warehousing services Australia-wide, our services also include wharf cartage and container-related services, distribution on a national level. We have customs and quarantine-related activities, interstate line haul via road and rail, and over-dimensional and project freight. We also offer value-added services for our retail, and we also offer Transbass services.
Excellent. Thanks, Steve. I look forward to catching up with you again in a future podcast. Well, that concludes today's episode about warehousing dilemmas, insourcing versus outsourcing with Tasman Logistics Services. You will find all their contact details listed below. So join us again at Supply Chain Partners TV and podcast, where we meet with our expert members at Supply Chain Partners to discuss key business and supply chain issues, topics and trends, including logistics, supply chain management, technology and much more. We welcome you to subscribe to the Supply Chain Partners channel, and we look forward to you joining us again in a future episode.